Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Today I will be presenting the topic of plagiarism. I am Dr. Temia Ayub and I will be presenting this topic under the kind guidance of Professor Dr. Saira Afzal, Dean Institute of Public Health, Lahore. So this is the overview of today's presentation. We will start with the definition and scope of plagiarism, different types of plagiarism, different detection software and tools, global regulations and policies, consequences of plagiarism, prevention strategies which can be used, ethical research practices which should be done, summary and key takeaways. At the end of the presentation, we will do multiple choice questions. So, what is plagiarism? Plagiarism is the use of another person's ideas, words, or work without proper attribution, presenting them as one's own, whether intentional or unintentional. So, plagiarism can have deep effects on academic integrity, research ethics, and there is also a legal dimension to plagiarism. Now, this is a brief overview of the different types of plagiarism. We have complete or verbatim plagiarism, mosaic, self plagiarism, paraphrasing, accidental, source based, data fabrication, ghostwriting, or translation. Now let's start with the verbatim or complete plagiarism. It means copying text word for word without quotation marks or citation, the most blatant form, entire paragraphs or paper submitted as one's own. For example, copying a method section from a published study directly into a thesis. Kindly give attention to the examples which I will be doing for each type of plagiarism. It will help you in understanding it better because all these types are very much relevant if you want to publish any article or research in journals or to publish your own thesis, etc. Then we have mosaic or patchwork plagiarism, which means mixing copied phrases from multiple sources, sometimes with synonyms substituted without proper attribution. It creates a patchwork of stolen text. For example, assembling a literature review by stitching phrases from five different journals. Then we have self plagiarism, recycling fraud, reusing one's own previously published work, for example, data, text, or ideas without disclosure. Particularly relevant in public health multi paper publication, for example, submitting the same intervention data to two different journals without disclosure. Then we have paraphrasing plagiarism, restating someone else's ideas in different words without citation. Though reworded, the intellectual content belonged to the original author. Rewording, for example, rewording World Health Organization disease burden statistics without citing WHO. Accidental plagiarism, unintentional plagiarism due to poor note taking, forgotten citations, or lack of awareness of proper referencing conventions. For example, a student forgets which source a fact came from and omits the reference. Then we have source based plagiarism, citing a source incorrectly, citing a secondary source as primary, citing non existing sources, or misrepresenting cited content. For example, citing a review article but claiming to have read the original trials. Then we have data fabrication and falsification, inventing or manipulating research data. In public health, this is especially dangerous as it can directly mislead policy and harm population. For example, reporting false vaccine efficacy rates in a clinical trial publication. Then we have ghostwriting or contract cheating, submitting work written by another person, paid or unpaid, as one's own. Increasingly problematic with AI writing tool and essay mills. For example, purchasing a systematic review from an online academic service. And finally, we have translation plagiarism, translating text from another language and presenting it as original work without attribution, particularly relevant in multilingual academic environments. For example, translating a French epidemiology paper and submitting it as an original English article. There are different plagiarism detection tool. There are six leading tools are being globally used by universities, publishers, and researchers. They are Turnitin, which is the academic standard. Then we have Grammarly, Copyscape, QText, Blackscam, and Authenticate. We will explain these tools one by one. First of all, we have Turnitin, which is primarily used by universities and academic submission checking. Its database include more than 91 billion web pages, more than 1.7 billion student papers, and more than 170 million journal articles. It gives us color coded report 0 to 100%, which is known as similarity index, and different institutional use different thresholds. Key features include AI writing detection, grammar check, citation analysis, Canvas or Moodle LMS integration. It is being used by 15,000 plus institutions in more than 140 countries across the world. Limitations include it does not detect published or paraphrased work well, and it also has a fee which has to be paid monthly or yearly. Then we come to Grammarly, which is primarily used for writing enhancements plus plagiarism checking. Its database checks against 16 billion more than 16 billion web pages in real time. Similarity detection highlights match text with source link. Key features include grammar, spell check, tone detection, AI writing detection, and browser extension. There are different plans. It has free plan, premium, business, and enterprise. Limitations include it is not designed for academic submission, and also it lacks general database access. Then we have Copyscape, which is primarily used for web content and online publishing plagiarism. It searches live web and cached pages via URL or text. It has free mode, which is URL based, or premium mode, which is text input and batch check. Key features include copy sentry monitoring, API integration, private index for client content. It is best for blogger, journalist, health websites, and NGO communication. Limitations include it has limited academic journal database. It is not ideal for research manuscript. Then we have QText, which is primarily used by students, educators, and researchers. It also had deep search artificial intelligence, which detect contextual similarity detection. Database includes billions of web pages plus academic sources. Key features include color grade feedback, citation assistant, LMS integration, and API. There are also free plan with limited pages, pro plan, and enterprise plan. Strength is that it detects paraphrasing better than many tools due to contextual AI analysis. Then we have PlaqueScan, which is used in enterprise, corporate, and academic institution. Its database includes web academic databases, internal document repositories. Key features include flag level score, multi-language support, API, bulk uploads, and white label. There are different languages, more than 100 languages, which are supported by PlaqueScan, and it is important for European research. Limitations include less widely adopted in universities compared to Turnitin. And finally, we have Authenticate, which is primarily used in academic publisher, researchers, and manuscript submission. Database include cross-referencing, sorry, more than 170 million academic article, Elsevier, Springer, Wiley, etc. Then we have key features include similarity report, cross-ref similarity check, journal workflow integration. It is being used by WHO Bulletin, Lancet, BMJ, New England Journal of Medicine, PLOS ONE, and thousands of journals. Relation to Turnitin, both owned by Clarivate. Authenticate targets publishers, Turnitin targets students. Key strength, it is the gold standard for manuscript submissions in peer-reviewed journal. So this is a comparison of these six software which I have mentioned. There are many other softwares and many other websites which are doing it. Some are doing it for free and some are doing it for a fee. So as it has been mentioned previously that it is far better to use those which are taking a fee instead of using free websites which do not have a recognizable or which are not authenticate websites which might use your data for some other purpose. So these are the six websites which I mentioned. So we have Turnitin, which is used by universities, and database is very large. It also has AI detection plan, but it does not have free plan. Then we have Grammarly, Copyscape, QText, PlaqueScan, and Authenticate. Everything has its own benefits and own some shortcomings also. So, global regulatory landscape. Plagiarism is governed by institutional policies, national laws, and international frameworks. Key jurisdictions include in USA we have different OSTP, Federal Research Misconduct Policy. Then in United Kingdom, we have United Kingdom Research Integrity Office. For European Union, we have ERA and GDPR frameworks. Similarly, for Australia, there is Australian Code for Research. For Asia Pacific, there is SCOPE plus national bodies. For Canada, there is Tri-Agency Framework. For WHO or COPE, there are international research standard, and so on. So in United States, there are key bodies like Office of Research Integrity, OSTP, and NSF. So there are different federal policies regarding the plagiarism. There are copyright laws, institutional policies. All universities must have academic integrity code enforced via honor committees. Then there are specific laws for funded research, and AI policy is an emerging thing which is being used now, and the guidance is being created now. And the main sorry, and the main guidance is that AI generated content must have a disclosure in research. Then we come to United Kingdom. It has key bodies like UK RIO, REF, RCUK, and so on. It also has different frameworks to support academic integrity. And there is also, for public health perspective, NIHR funded researchers held to UKRI and institutional codes of practice. Similarly, for European Union, there are framework of European Code of Conduct for Research Integrity, and there are open access. It is mandatory to have open access, which reduces barriers but increases self-plagiarism risk. And then we have GDPR and data, research data integrity intersects with GDPR compliance. And for similarly for Australia, we have institutional duties. There are different codes which are responsible. Copyright Act is there, health research is there, and AI guidance and codes are being monitored, being made right now. Similarly, for different countries in Asia Pacific, there are more guidelines. For Japan, there are MEX guidelines 2014, which define research misconduct. For China, there are different guidelines. India is currently using UGC regulations on promotion of academic integrity. Similarly, Singapore is having its own guideline to which aligns with UK and US standard. So, in for lower middle income countries context, we have limited institutional resources, often rely on COPE guidelines and donor funding training. So, key challenges include language barrier, increased accidental plagiarism risk, need localized policy movement. Similarly, for Canada, as I mentioned, there are tri-agency framework which are using which are checking plagiarism. So now we come to World Health Organization. WHO bulletin uses Authenticate for all manuscript submission. It retracts published article for plagiarism. Global research ethics is that WHO Research Ethics Review Committee oversees study protocols worldwide. Then we have TDR program, which research capacity building in LMICs, including integrity training. And there are also for specifically for lower middle income countries, WHO's capacity building efforts directly support research integrity in low income settings. And finally, we have COPE or Committee on Publication Ethics. Its mission is to promote integrity in research and publication through guidelines, cases, and training. COPE guidelines are for editors, authors, and reviewers. Each has specific integrity obligations. Then, for plagiarism cases, COPE publishes anonymized case studies, which are valuable teaching resources. And the retraction policy is used by COPE retraction guidelines used by Lancet, BMJ, PLOS, plagiarism, etc. And the main policy is to do retraction. So its members are more than 12,000 member journals worldwide, and it sets the de facto global publication standard. Now we come to another important portion, which are the consequences of plagiarism. So, consequences of plagiarism include academic consequences, professional consequences, legal consequences, and reputational consequences. So, the first one is academic consequences. It includes course failure or grade zero, submission or expulsion from the program, degree revocation, even post achieving the degree, permanent academic record notation. For professional consequences, we have job loss or contract termination, deregistration from professional bodies, ineligibility for future grants or fellowships, retraction of published papers. Legal consequences include copyright infringement laws, criminal charges in some jurisdictions, financial penalties or damages, court ordered injunctions. Then we have reputational consequences, which include permanent damage to researcher profile, loss of peer trust and collaboration, media coverage and public embarrassment, and listing on retraction databases. In public health, plagiarism carries consequences beyond individual. It can distort evidence, misguide policy, and harm population. Evidence-based corruption, plagiarized systematic reviews or meta-analysis can pollute clinical guidelines and national health strategies with false evidence. LMIC vulnerability, low and middle income countries with limited research capacity are more vulnerable to being misled by plagiarized international literature. Then we have loss of community trust. In global health, community trust is essential. Research misconduct erodes public confidence in health authorities and vaccination programs. Then we have policy misguidance. Health Minister and WHO may base interventions on fraudulent data, wasting resources and endangering lives. For example, retracted COVID-19 studies. Funding withdrawal. Institutional institutions found guilty of misconduct may lose WHO, NIH, Wellcome Trust, USAID, or Global Fund grant, critical for LMIC research capacity. And then we have journal blacklisting. Authors from institutions with repeating misconduct may face blanket rejections from high impact journals, limiting national scientific visibility. So these are some of the prevention strategies which should be done. The first and the most important is the proper citation practice. Use APA, Vancouver, Harvard, or discipline-specific styles consistently. Cite all sources, even widely known facts in academic writing. Effective note taking. Record sources immediately when taking notes. Distinguish between direct quotes, paraphrases, and your own ideas from the outset. Paraphrasing training. Learn to genuinely restate ideas, not just replace words. Understand the idea first, close the source, then write in your words. Use Reference Manager, Zotero, Mendeley, EndNote, or RefWorks automate citation and bibliography generation, reducing accidental omissions. Self-check with software. Run all work through Turnitin, QTex, or Grammarly before submission. Treat the report as a learning tool, not just a compliance check. Understands authorship. Follow ICMJE criteria for authorship. All contributors must be appropriately credited. Ghost authorship is itself a form of misconduct, as explained previously. Advanced prevention, which can be done at institutional and systemic approaches. Academic integrity training, mandatory orientation module on plagiarism, authorship, and research ethic for all postgraduate students and staff. Assignment design. Educators design assessments requiring original analysis, reflections on local data, reducing the risk of copy paste submissions. Research data management. Store raw data securely with timestamps. Register studies prospectively on Prospero, clinicaltrials.gov, or Pan African Clinical Trials Registry, depending upon the location. Mentorship and supervisions. Senior researchers model ethical practice. Structured supervisions include explicit integrity discussions, not just content review. Honor code implementation. Formal academic integrity pledges signed at admission, culture of honesty embedded in institutional values. Disclosure policy for AI tools. Institutions should have clear policies on AI assisted writing. Mandatory disclosure, not automatic prohibition. Open science culture. Pre-registration, pre-prints, and data sharing reduces the temptation to fabricate or duplicate. Transparency as a systemic deterrent. Lower middle income country specific support. WHO, Wellcome Trust, and EDCTP provide research writing workshops and LMICs, foundational to preventing accidental plagiarism. Ethical practices in public health. Science advances only when knowledge is built honestly on the work of others. Attribution is the foundation of that process. Sorry. So, the most important ethical research practices include honesty, report findings truthfully, even null results. Avoid selective reporting or harking, hypothesizing after results are known. Transparency, disclose methods, funding sources, conflicts of interest, and AI tool usage in all publication. Accountability. Researchers are responsible for the integrity of their entire body of work, including co-authored publication. Fairness. Credit all contributors fairly. Avoid honorary authorship, gift authorship, and ghost authorship arrangements. Reproducibility. Design studies so methods and results can be independently reproduced. Share data, code, and protocols openly. Care. Protect research participants, communities, and data subjects. In public health, research must do no harm to populations. So, these are some of the key takeaways from our presentation. Plagiarism has 9 distinct types, from verbatim copying to translation and data fabrication. Each require a specific preventive strategies. Detection software is a tool, not a cure. Similarity scores require expert interpretation. Context, citation practices, and quotations must be assessed holistically. Global regulations share core principles but differ in enforcement penalties and institutional mechanism. In public health, research misconduct has direct population level consequences. Distorted evidence leads to misguided policy and wasted resources. LMIC researchers face unique challenges, including language barriers, limited access to tools, and capacity gaps, requiring targeted institutional support. Prevention is primarily cultural. Integrity must be embedded in institutional values, mentorship, curriculum design, and leadership behavior. And finally, AI writing tool creates new frontier for plagiarism. Institutions must develop forward-looking disclosure policies aligned with COPE and WHO guidance. Now we will come to the multiple choice question portion of presentation. So, a postgraduate student copies a paragraph from a WHO report into their thesis without citation, but slightly changes a few words. This is best described as proper paraphrasing, mosaic plagiarism, self plagiarism, common knowledge usage, um, E acceptable academic practice.
A.
Basically, it is he is using only one paragraph without citation, and if only a few words are changed, then it is known as mosaic plagiarism. So it is option B. Which of the following best defines a self plagiarism in public health research? Copying other works without citation, using unpublished data without permission, C. Reusing one's previously published work without proper disclosure, D. Fabricating referencing, or E. Citing secondary sources incorrectly.
C.
Yes, it is C. A researcher uses a standard definitions of incident rate from epidemiology textbook without citation. Why is this generally acceptable? It is published in multiple journals. It is considered common knowledge in the field. C. It is publicly accessible. D. It is authored by international organizations. Or E. It is paraphrased. So the
B.
answer is B. B. It is considered common knowledge in the field. In a multi author public health study, one author copies methodology text from a previous paper of another team without citation. Who is primarily responsible for this misconduct? A. The journal editor. B. The corresponding author only. C. The institution. D. All list authors share responsibility. Or E. The peer reviewers. So in this case, the answer is D. All listed authors have shared responsibility. 5. Which of the following scenarios represent the most appropriate way to avoid plagiarism when using another author's idea? Copying exact sentences with minor word changes, using the idea without citation if it is widely known. C. Paraphrasing and providing proper citation. D. Translating the text into another language without citation. Or E. Using only figure without attribution. So the answer is C, paraphrasing and providing proper citation. Now we come to MCQ 6. A student submits the same assignment to two different courses without informing the instructors. This is an example of duplicate submission, acceptable academic reuse, data fabrication, ghostwriting, or selective reporting. So the answer is A, duplicate submission. MCQ 7, in plagiarism detection software, for example, Turnitin, a high similarity index always indicate plagiarism. Which statement is correct? True, any similarity above 10% is plagiarism. True, similarity index directly determines misconduct. False, similarity must be interpreted in context. D, false, software is unreliable. E, true, journals reject based solely on the percentage.
A.
For this, the answer is C. It is false because similarity must be interpreted with all the context and with everything in place. A researcher copies a table from a published article and includes it in their paper with proper citation but without permission. This constitutes no violation, B, plagiarism, C, ethical compliance, D, copyright infringement, or E, data falsification. So for this particular example, it is copyright infringement. Option is D. Which of the following practices best strengthens academic integrity in public health research writing? Using multiple sources without citation, relying on secondary citations only, using plagiarism detection tools before submission, D, avoiding paraphrasing, or E, copying methodology sections from previous thesis. So for this, the answer is C, using plagiarism detection tools before submission. A public health researcher unintentionally fails to cite a source due to poor note taking. This is best classified as intentional plagiarism, research misconduct, ethical compliance, minor referencing error with no consequences, or E, unintentional plagiarism.
E.
Yes, it is E, unintentional plagiarism. So, sorry. Uh, this is the answer key. This is the YouTube link where this video will be uploaded. And thank you very much for listening.